Esaenai el Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. I will lift my eyes toward the mountains. Where will my help come from? Where will it be? My help is from the one creator of heaven and earth. My help is from the one creator of heaven and earth. Esaenai el Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esaenai el Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri.
Good morning, and welcome to the Etz Chaim Yom HaShoah Commemoration Service. I'm Jan Widmeyer, and it has been my pleasure and my privilege to serve as one of the 8th grade teachers this year. The 8th graders have spent their time with me engaged in the study of the Holocaust, and the students have been grappling with some really hard material. They've studied the historical circumstances that gave rise to Nazism, the increasing anti-Semitism in Germany in the 1930s, the movement of Jews into Nazi-mandated ghettos and concentration and death camps, the liberation of the camps, and the world's efforts to come to terms with the experience. As the capstone experience for the 8th graders, in addition to helping to lead today's service, I asked the students to create a personal response or reflection to the material we have studied together. I gave them free rein to select the mode of this response, and the variety of their work is really wonderful. Students created art or poetry, wrote letters to survivors, or wrote about historical figures that interested them, and wrote about their own growing understanding of the Holocaust over time. The student works are included in your prayer booklets, interspersed with the liturgy. I urge you to take the time to explore their work. I want to extend my gratitude to my 8th grade teaching partner, Judy Miller, who's been a fantastic colleague all year. Thank you also to Marla Bentley, our school principal, for providing wonderful guidance and leadership this year and being of invaluable help in assembling the pieces of this service. The beautiful prayer booklets are all Marla's work, so thank you. Thank you to the rabbis for leading today's service, and my deepest gratitude to Sue Leftwich, who has been working with me. I think this is our 21st year together, collaborating in preparing and leading the Yom HaShoah commemoration. So thank you, Sue. One topic the students and I have discussed in our study of the Holocaust is the impact of individual choices. During those dramatic historical times, hugely significant consequences resulted from the moment-by-moment choices of many individual people. Because one person averted her attention and was passive in the face of evil, someone died. Because someone else embraced evil, others died. Equally, however, because a person held out a helping hand, someone survived. Both big historical trends and the fates of many individuals turn on small day-to-day choices. We are living in a moment in history when the impact of some individual choices have on broad groups is starkly illuminated. Two examples come to mind. First, the war in Ukraine, resulting in the deaths of thousands of people and the resurgence of nuclear threat, flow from the individual choices of Vladimir Putin, others in the Russian government who fell in line, Russian soldiers who carried out the war of aggression, and so on. Likewise, the choices of individual Ukrainians, from President Zelensky to Ukrainian citizens, have created a resistance to the invasion of their country that has been inspiring. It is impossible not to see both parallels and contrasts between those current events, between these events and the history we commemorate today. Closer to home, we are entering the 4th year of living with COVID-19. Although in many ways normal life has resumed, we are all marked by the experiences of the past 3 years. The experiences of this pandemic have shown all of us the power of our small, seemingly personal choices and the ways that these choices may have life-altering impacts on ourselves and others. In prior years, I worried that the discussions the 8th graders and I have in our class would be theoretical and abstract for them and that they might not actually connect. I know that these students are living in a world where this lesson of the importance of our individual choices is part of their lived experience. Perhaps as we engage in this holy act of commemorating Yom HaShoah, we can be inspired to move forward and continue to make choices that protect ourselves, our loved ones, our community, and those throughout the world that are the victims of hatred.
Please turn to page 2. We begin with silence, the silence of death, the silence of destruction. There are times when songs falter, when darkness fills life, when martyrdom becomes a constellation of faith against the unrelieved black of space about us. There are no words to reach beyond the edge of night, no messenger to tell the full tale. There is only silence, the sounds of Job, the sounds of the 6 million, the sounds of memory. Let us remember them as we link our silences.
If the prophets broke in through the doors of night and saw an ear like a homeland, ear of mankind, overgrown with nettles, would you hear? If the voice of the prophets blew on flutes made of murdered children's bones and exhaled airs burnt with martyrs' cries, if they build a bridge of old men's dying groans, ear of mankind occupied with small sounds, would you hear? Nellie Sachs.
You who live secure in your warm houses, who return at evening to find hot food and friendly faces, consider whether this is a man who labors in the mud, who knows no peace, who fights for a crust of bread, who dies at a yes or a no. Consider whether this is a woman without hair or a name, with no more strength to remember, eyes cold, eyes empty, womb cold as a frog in the winter. Consider that this has been. I command these words to you. Engrave them on your hearts when you are in your house, when you walk on your way, when you go to bed, when you rise. Repeat them to your children, or may your house crumble. Disease render you powerless, your offspring avert their faces from you. Primo Levi.
My father, Heinrich Heim Blitzer, owned a huge men's clothing store in Berlin, and he had worked all his life to build up this store. And he told me how his store was looted and utterly destroyed on Kristallnacht. The police hunted for him, my mother and 2 sisters, to deport them into a concentration camp, but a righteous Gentile risked his life to hide them in his attic, until my father and mother and sisters were able to immigrate to America in February 1939. On Kristallnacht, my uncle Josef Wasserman was rounded up with other Jews and deported to a concentration camp, where he was murdered. My grandparents, 5 aunts and uncles in Berlin, were later deported to concentration camps where they were murdered. My mother was the sole survivor of her family. Shattered like the glass of Kristallnacht was my family. Chaya Blitzer.
Our grandfather is a survivor of the Holocaust. Our mom taught us about that terrible time in history. We asked our grandpa about how he felt living in Lot's ghetto and working in the concentration camp. How did he have the will to survive? He doesn't talk about the Holocaust very much, but we know he thinks about it often. We learn about the Holocaust in school and tell our grandpa about what we learn. We are proud of our grandfather and have learned a lot from him. We will always remember never to forget. We will always remember all who perished in the Holocaust and hope that teaching others will help prevent this terrible thing from happening again. Alec and Austin.
We would assemble in darkness. To light a candle there, or even a match, would have brought immediate disaster upon us. We spoke about matters of spirit and eternal questions, about God, about Jews in the world, about the eternity of Israel. In the midst of darkness, I sensed light in the unlit room, the light of Torah. Leo Beck.
Please turn to page 4 if you haven't already. It was the cold winter of 1944, and although we had nothing like calendars, my father, who was my fellow prisoner there, took me and some of our friends to a corner in our barrack. He announced that it was the eve of Hanukkah, produced a curiously shaped clay bowl, and began to light a wick immersed in his precious, but now melted, margarine ration. Before he could recite the first blessing, I protested at the waste of food. He looked at me, then at the lamp, and finally said, "You and I have seen that it is possible to live up to 3 weeks without food. We once lived almost 3 days without water, but you cannot properly live for 3 minutes without hope." Hugo Grin.
One evening, when we were already resting on the floor of our hut, dead tired, soup bowls in hand, a fellow prisoner rushed in and asked us to run out to the assembly grounds to see the wonderful sunset. Standing outside, we saw sinister clouds in the west and whole sky alive with clouds of ever-changing shapes and colors, from steel blue to blood red. The dissolute gray mud huts provided a sharp contrast, while the puddles of muddy ground reflected the glowing sky. Then, after minutes of moving silence, one prisoner said to another, "How beautiful the world could be." Victor E. Frankl.
My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Draw I shall not fear. Beim ruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira.
Please turn to page 5. I believe in the sun even when it is not shining. I believe in love even when feeling it not. I believe in God even when God is silent. Found on a cellar wall in Cologne, Germany, written by a person hiding from the Nazis.
If worry and despondency seek our undoing, then we should think about Yitzchor in such a way that we carry on the work of our ancestors from Sinai, in that we today are truly their children, and in that we are parents of the future generations. Then the chain does not break, and we gain the strength to carry out nobly these historical responsibilities, and to thank God sincerely that Yitzchor has become the celebration of our soul. Regina Jones.
You must not say that you now walk the final way, because the darkened heavens hid the blue of the day. The time we have longed for will at last draw near, and our steps as drums will sound that we are here. From land all green with palms to land all white with snow, we now arrive with all our pain and all our woe. Where our blood sprayed out and came to touch the land, where our courage and our faith will rise and stand.
To sit in silence and meditation is difficult, but it is the way we honor those who perished during this time. So we take 10 seconds for each million and let us meditate on their lives and on all that was lost. Please rise. We continue with El Malei Rachamim, which can be found on page 6. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Mechuna Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot kadoshim utahorim kizor harakia mazhirim et nishmot 6 million achinu v'yachgotenu shenehegu al kidosh Hashem be'al harachamim yastireim b'seter kanafav leolamim vayitzor b'tzor hachayim et mishmatam Adonai hu nachalatam betanuach b'shalom al mishkavam v'nomar amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to our 6 million brothers and sisters murdered because they were Jews, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven, Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure them, secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. May they rest in peace. Amen. We remain standing for the Kaddish. Yitgadal,
Auschwitz,
V'yitkadash,
Lodz,
Shmei Rabbah,
Ponar,
V'alma divrach hirutei,
Babi Yar,
V'mamich malchutei,
Majdanek,
B'chayechon uv'yomechon,
Birkenau,
Uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael,
Kovno,
Ba'agalalu v'zman kariv,
Yanauska,
V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach,
Tresenstadt,
v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam,
Buchenwald,
v'yitnaseh v'yithadar,
Treblinka,
v'yitaleh v'yitalal,
Vilna,
shemei dekudesha barichu,
Bergen-Belsen,
le'ela,
Mauthausen,
min kol birchata v'shirata,
Dachau,
tush bechata v'nechemata,
Minsk,
da'amiran bi'alma,
Warsaw,
v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. We continue standing as we sing Hatikvah, which can be found in our packet on page 6. Please be seated. This concludes our Yom HaShoah observance, and we ask that as you leave the sanctuary this morning, you leave with reverence and silence.